Okay, we're live. How's it going, bro? How are you?
All good, thanks, bro. Like I said, surviving, enjoying the current climate as much as I can. But how are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm good. I really wanted to get this, episode with you because I haven't really told you this when we talk because I think this is the first time I've actually spoken with you. But
Yeah,
I always appreciate, the motivation, the positivity, and your go for it attitude, the go getter attitude that you have. And I was like, I should definitely have this talk with Heerbode because
I appreciate that a lot, brother.
we add a
I'm
lot
I'm
of
glad
value.
we're having this talk. I'm definitely glad we're doing this. It's always awesome to speak with like-minded people. So I appreciate
Appreciate
that a
you.
lot.
Appreciate you coming, man. So we'll just dive right into it. What is your
Okay.
favorite movie and why?
Okay. So questions were slightly tricky because there's so many options. I'm a
Yeah.
bit of a movie head, and if I had to narrow it down to one, which is still it's quite commercial, I would have to choose Inception.
Inception.
Mainly because the reason for that is even though it's box office and everything, and my mindset is always anti-box office, it's something that really got me thinking. It took a lot of brain activity from me. I had to watch it a couple of times, and I really appreciated the kind of puzzles and what the process Nolan went through to kind of apply what he's seen and put it into a movie. Not to mention the incredible cast that it had as well. And you've got the soundtrack, Hans Zimmer, so it's just like every single box got ticked for me. That's why, looking back, it's still one of my favorite movies for sure.
Yeah, no, interesting. Okay, no, that's a good choice. Every time I watch that movie, I actually like see something new. I figure something new out of it too. It has
Yeah,
so many layers, right? It's like an onion.
exactly. And I really appreciate that about it. And that's why that kind of sent me down like a trend of it made me appreciate Nolan's work on the Batman trilogy as well. It's like, how can you make something like like the comic book series seem so real? Like that dark element he added to the Batman trilogy, and it took me back all the way to Memento. So I do like Nolan's kind of technique in these movies that gets you thinking and gets you like put you in this not necessarily a back seat, but you're trying to figure shit out. So
Interesting.
I
Okay,
I
no,
like that a lot.
good choice. Good choice. That's interesting. Okay, so if you were to recommend a book to a friend or to a loved one, what would you recommend?
100%. This has to be one book without question. You've probably read it. A lot of people probably have, but out of influences that books have had on me, The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss,
Okay.
tremendous, tremendous. This got actually, my wife gave me this book when she read it. And dude, I was going through a phase in my life where, again, the rat race, as we were discussing earlier, I hit a point, this was during my first job straight out of university, where I thought after the first few months, you feel very motivated. We've all been there, the first few months, super motivated,
Yeah.
working, finally, it's amazing. Then you hit a wall where you're like, am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life? Is this it? What else is there? And reading that book really opened my eyes, it opened my brain. It made me realize not just on the working element about how he gives you advice about, outsourcing stuff and doing certain things, but more on the side of experiences and saying, because
Mhm.
I'm a type of person and I get criticized for this and I get praised for this at the same time. I have a lot of interest and I will continue to have a lot of interest. I like trying, and I definitely like the experience of being a rookie at different things. So this book kind of gave me access to saying, oh, if you want to go learn salsa, go learn that in South America and go learn how to do this in this country and kung fu in China. So that's why I can't recommend this book enough to anybody, to anyone.
Interesting. Okay. By the way, I really appreciate what you said about being a rookie in different things and having a lot of interest because that makes you a multidimensional person. You don't just want to be an accountant, for example, right? Just like
Yeah.
neck deep into that game only, right?
Thank God. But no, absolutely, bro. It relates to one of the further questions. It's there's so much to do, and there's so many cool things, and that experience of being a rookie in something new is the coolest part because it's so new to you, and you're like taking in all this information. So you're like a sponge at that point, and I love being in that situation where
Hmm.
it's all fresh and new. It's such a great experience.
Interesting. I appreciate that. I appreciate that quality. So, what is your current Ikigai?
Um, it would again related to what I just said. It's variability in experiences. That has to be the key thing. I like to wake up every day not necessarily do something new every day. Be a little bit unrealistic if I wanted to do that, but not impossible. But more about what are my goals on new experiences I want to achieve, uh, things I haven't done yet, new activities I want to learn. So it's constantly being, again, in that rookie role. That's my day to day, waking up on top of course having a happy life with my loved ones and appreciating family and everything, but experiencing what I can experience through life. Doesn't necessarily have to be a new activity, maybe a new food I haven't tried, attempting a new language, going to a new place. So people, and unfortunately a lot of my friends love their comfort zone. A lot of people do. It's very tough not to love your comfort zone, but through putting yourself out there, I've met some of the best people. I've had some of the greatest experiences, done some of the best things by just doing something as simple as stepping out. That's it. So constantly variability.
Interesting. I gotta say this live. You remind me of one of my friends here as well. His name is Hassan. He's like you. Really,
Oh,
really,
awesome.
really interesting guy. You know, always looking to try different things out, experience things, and I can see that similarity. And it's actually really important to
Dude,
be
you
able.
get one ticket to this life. That's it. I don't know who said this, but it's like you're on this roller coaster. You get this one ticket and then it expires.
Hmm.
So go try whatever you want to try. Like try things, try this food, go to that country. If it's on your mind, we like think about so many things. I've been guilty of this so many times. I used to say, look at these pictures. Oh my God, one day, one day, one day. And then it got to the point, fuck it, excuse me, book the ticket and just go there, And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I feel that. Okay, that's cool. So, what new skills are you trying to learn right now?
okay, this one has to be a split answer because partially related to my career, and the other part is more for personal interest. So, career-wise, I can foresee accountants being, especially with like technology improving so much, accountants being replaced something in the next 10 to 15 years, at least a large portion of them. So I feel like me wanting to learn a data language, like something like Python, would be very, very beneficial to me, even though I have zero experience in it. But my modeling skills, my financial modeling skills, I think the next step is to kind of merge it with data. So career wise, for sure, get more into that area to kind of avoid being made redundant at some point. Not that I want to be an accountant for the rest of my life, but the on a personal side, I would say surfing is definitely a big one. I've definitely tried it. Like I've had one session on it. Unbelievable experience. It's again going back to the rookie talk,
Mhm.
but it's timing that I really appreciate from this activity because it looks so easy when you watch it on TV and you watch other people do it. But just the fact that you're in this kind of you're in the ocean. Like when I did it was in Portugal, which has the west coast has like the biggest waves in the world.
Oh, okay.
So thankfully we're at the beach we were at was okay. But you're in this kind of beautiful sea that can drag you out at any moment, and it's the scariest place on earth. But you're trying to time this perfect wave, and then if you time it properly, you're riding a wave, and you're just going really fast. It's a tremendous. It's an appreciation for timing and getting something right and working for it. I really enjoyed that, and I didn't think about any problems or anything else about my day, which is similar to what I felt when back in my like fighting days. It's you zone out and all your problems get deleted and you focus on that one moment. So surfing for sure. I think there was one more, but yeah, no, surfing. Yeah,
Interesting. So two things you said. You want to kind of get into fintech, right? So mixing the
exactly.
financial world with the technology world, and then surfing as well, which is very interesting because, like you said, you got to stay in the moment, right?
Exactly.
And it's very enjoyable. It's very enjoyable.
Definitely, dude. I mean, I loved it. It was awesome.
All right, man. More power to you. I'm gonna follow up on that next time. See where you are. Yeah.
Definitely.
What is your biggest fear?
Biggest fear. I had to think about this one. I almost went to the route of saying just my biggest fear is waking up one day and seeing that I haven't done all the things I wanted to do. Yes, that's definitely a fear. But a bigger one, if I want to be honest, is I have a fear of being incapable of protecting my loved ones in a situation. I mean, hopefully it will never happen, but like in a situation that I need to, I suppose I've had dreams about it of not being able to protect them.
Mhm.
That's probably my biggest fear. Didn't mean to get too dark on it, but
No, I mean
it's just
feeling like helpless in some
yes,
sense,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, like paralyzed. Yeah, yeah, that's scary as hell, man.
yeah,
So then a follow up on that, how do you deal with your insecurities? Because I know generally, at least from what I know about you, you're generally a very strong-willed, strong-minded person, always trying to be optimistic, at least seeing the light in things. So I
yeah.
wanted to know how you personally deal with some of the insecurities you may have.
That's it's a good question, bro. I find it slightly tough because a lot of people have voices in their heads that puts them down, right? So I suffer from a reverse kind of narcissistic trait, which is I've got this voice in my head telling me that I'm better than everyone, which I have to suppress, and I try and like stay grounded about it. I
Okay.
don't know how this started. Maybe if we want to like tackle it, is probably from earlier rejection when I was much younger. Um, Rejection, like maybe when I mean, we're incredibly young at that point, but maybe when I was 12, 13, like maybe asking for someone's number and not getting it and stuff. Maybe that kind of developed the character from that stage. But now it's the problem's the other way around, which I have to ensure I'm grounded. And I've had to overcome a lot in being a good friend and kind of having more empathy towards my friends and listening to them better, which has improved the quality of all my friendships afterwards. But I've had to step outside of narcissism. So generally, though, in terms of insecurities in something I want to do, in my head, what goes on is I'm there's just repetition of telling myself I'm the best. And even if I fail at something, which has happened so many times,
Hmm.
the failure doesn't define you. It's like, okay, you failed, cool. How many times can you get up after this failure of not being able to do this task? What can I do? And the feeling sucks. So anyone that says, oh, I failed at this, but at least I'm going to see the bright side in it, that's great. It's awesome. I hate failing in things, but that hate, it's like you're self-aware to say, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to use to not fail in that particular task. So
Interesting.
sports is a great example for that this works in.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and what you said in the beginning about, being on the other end. Obviously, like neither extreme is good, but if I had
Yeah,
to choose, then I would choose the narcissistic side as well, because then you got to kind of step it down rather than
yeah,
step it up.
yeah.
It's always easier that way. Okay, interesting. And what are some red flags for you in your relationships?
Red flags. I had to make notes about it. So red flags is the bubble mentality. That's why I wrote it down.
Oh,
It's I from where we come from, like the whole Dubai mindset, and I do love Dubai, and it's been responsible for great memories. Unfortunately, there's a big bubble mindset people have that it's like this is my routine. I cannot step outside this box. A
mhm.
red flag for me is if someone tries to impose this on the other person that's in the relationship. I tend to be a bit of a free spirit in terms of things I want to do and activities, and bless my wife because she's super supportive about this stuff. But I would say like a massive red flag is someone that doesn't understand me because I'm not going to understand the other person I'm with. There's plenty of things my wife likes that I wouldn't necessarily like, but it's about being in a situation where you say, okay, I respect what's important to you and you respect what's important to me. So if someone feels that they're not getting that back, that's a massive red flag because it leads into narcissism because the
Mhm.
person saying I'm more important than you are.
Yeah, and it also drains you. It's very
Exactly.
draining, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
Right. And it's like if they're trying to impose their schedule and their structure on you without like they should at least, like you said, respect it. They don't have to fully understand why you are the way you are, but they can at least respect the fact that this is what makes you happier as a person, right?
Exactly. And that's the problem. I don't necessarily blame the people that don't have this because your environment makes you. And a lot of people that, again, using Dubai as an example, come from that environment, unfortunately haven't seen anything outside of that environment. So the norm is to say, no, this is it. And we're going to do this. If you're not doing this, Reza, then there's something up with you. And I'm not happy. And that causes friction in the relationship. And you know where that leads.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So if you were supposed to have lunch with someone, if you wanted to have lunch with someone dead or alive, who would you choose?
Dude, you asked the toughest questions, man. There's so many people on this list, but I'll give you one dead, one alive.
Okay.
Dead would have to be P.T. Barnum.
Wait,
The
I gotta write this one down because I don't know him. PT who?
Yeah, P.T. Barnum.
Okay.
He's the guy that basically invented the circus. There's a movie about him with Hugh Jackman, the greatest showman or show
Oh,
something.
okay. Okay.
So obviously that they've made that very Hollywood. But the reason I would like to speak with Peter Bonham is I've always had a massive interest. Again, I've always I grew up in a house full of people, so I've always liked to have a lot of people around me. Naturally, gone into club promoting because not because it's like, oh, it's a cool job or whatever. I love setting up events for people to go to. It's always been the passion. So I was always fascinated with the guy that kind of invented the circus, and it's like he would think of these ideas. What went through your brain process to say, okay, I'm going to get all the most unique people from around the world, bearded lady, I don't know, elephant man, whatever, and put them in an act, and call this a circus and charge people money for it. The modern day version of that for me is Dana White, the president of the UFC. I mean, this guy I've followed from I've been a UFC fan for a very long time. But let's look beyond the sport. Let's look at the UFC as a business. It's someone that saw potential in a sport that really connects to us from the gladiator days, even before that, the caveman days, and managed to commercialize this and went through tremendous struggles, which again, I mean, loads, regulations, no one putting them on TV, whatever. For someone to see that potential, I would consider him to be the best promoter in the world after Peter Barnum, of course. Um, and I would love to sit down with him and just ask him, pick his brain on what was going through his head when he saw this, and what happened when he got 100 roadblocks. Because for me, that's very important to see, how do you deal with those roadblocks? I've dealt with my ones on a much smaller scale. How do you deal with it? What do you look for when everyone's telling you no, and you still believe there's potential in this idea that you have? So definitely would like to sit down with him.
Interesting. Okay, so I gotta check PT Barham out, but UFC. I mean, Dana White, man, I appreciate as well that what he's been able to create and the shows that he provides people, and like you said, even as a business, very interesting. Like,
And
killed every
business story
other
success.
industry, you know?
Exactly. Bought it for 4 million. Naturally, wasn't his money, but convinced his friends to buy it for 4 million. Spent another 50 on it. But it was going downhill from there, and sold it for 4.2 billion. So, what more do you want?
And the fighters that he picks nowadays, it's becoming more and more interesting, with so many different talents. And I'm sure you follow the UFC. I mean, I'm a big fan of martial arts, myself. So I I,
Awesome.
I for sure appreciate the work that was put behind all of this, right?
Absolutely, man. And it's another person related to this. People laugh, but I consider him one of the greatest businessmen ever. Is again, falls into the same category. Is Vince McMahon, the man that's going around the country selling I don't want to say a fake product, because it's soap opera. It's actually soap opera for people that don't understand that that's what it is. When the outcomes, you're selling people a show despite the fact that you know exactly what's going to happen, and you're playing with people's emotions, and that is your business. I'm fascinated by that. So
Yeah.
all these guys kind of come from the same book. They're cut from the same cloth.
No, I agree. And, right now it seems like it's dying, but it was very huge back in the
Absolutely.
2000s or, it was huge,
When
huge.
we were kids, man, that was
Yeah, that
what
was
we
that
loved
was
to
the shit,
watch.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
PS2, the SmackDown versus Raw.
Exactly.
Okay, so what do you think is the most important invention of the past, 15, 20 years, excluding the internet?
Related to the internet is social media. It has to be social media for me. Despite the criticism it's got with privacy and whatnot, we're still in a position. And I always imagine this. It's like in the 70s or 80s, even later, the 90s, let's say. Imagine having a date and just calling them on the phone saying, all right, I'm going to meet you at the cinema at like 3 p.m. What if something happens and that person can't make it and you're just standing in the cinema like an idiot? I'm sure many people went through this,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
something as simple as that. But social media is amazing, man. Look at look at how we're talking right now. Look at how we came in touch through social media. We had similar ideas and points of views on things, and that puts us in a position to discuss. Now, outside of the social level, it's businesses that are thriving on social media. It's news, again, skipping the fake news, people having access to each other from across the world. I just don't, I find that to be the most important invention in the last 20 years.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I see social media definitely as a double-edged sword, and if you're on the right edge, then you can tremendously leverage whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's build relationships, build businesses, know more about what's happening around the world. But then on the flip side to that, if you fall on the wrong edge, you know, you might fall into this kind of mindset of, I don't know, depression and all these things that are happening with teenagers and, you know, young adults, you know.
Which is terrible. That's the one element. Again, it's something I didn't really suffer from, but I do have close people around me that I've noticed it has affected them. So I can empathize with that and appreciate that. It at the same time, there's a part of me that's screaming and saying other people's opinions does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you're not a douche or something, but it this is your journey. That's what I say to it. It's like, it's your journey, man. I've been in so many situations of trying something new which is a big fear everyone has on social media, but you'll see I'll go and post it on social media, be like, hey guys, I'm going to do, I don't know, male ballet or something. I haven't done it, but I'll definitely,
Triathlon or whatever. Yeah.
Speaking of which, that was like one of the worst triathlons. But my time was terrible. I had to show up because my boss, which I was, my previous bosses at my current company, um, amazing mentors. So they were super like triathletes as well. And he actually got me to sign up. On the day, it was very rainy, London weather, you gotta love it. And I wanted to bail. You know, the inner lazy person took over. I was like, hey, are you still going today? My boss was like, yeah, I'm on my way there. And I was like, great, I can't miss this. So
like Joe Rogan says, you conquered your inner bitch.
exactly. But the tough part was I I'm very lazy sometimes. I'm very good at like the events. I'm quite lazy when I can get lazy when it comes to the training. I used to have an animalistic phase and back in the day, but I've naturally kind of had that talent versus hard work mindset, which I've shifted more towards the hard work side. But
I
the
see.
swimming element of the triathlon, I only trained once. And Reza, I had the worst time on that day for swimming. Not only did my wave pass me, but the next wave started while I was still swimming, and they caught up with me. So I
Oh
had a
shit.
lot of making up to do on the bike and on the running element.
So you got lapped on the swimming part, right? But you were able to catch up on the running and the biking.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I only had one swimming session, and it was next time I'm definitely going to swim more, just to be
Interesting.
that
Yeah,
swimmer.
you should train more on that piece. So wait, is it 40 kilometers running and
No, that's the full distance. I did the super sprints. The 42 kilometers. That's a marathon I did the year before. That one I'd still like to attempt and do a better time. I did in just about 5 hours. My aim was for 4.5 hours.
Hmm.
But that one again, I wasn't too pleased with my training. I was training once a week, whereas other people are doing it 2-3 times a week. So I will definitely attempt both these events at least one more time because I'm not satisfied with the times I got.
interesting? Yeah, that's on my bucket list, man. Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. It's very, very tough. It's it marathon, which I'm identifying. Triathlon wasn't as hard, probably because the distance I did was less. But the marathon was the toughest part about it. I found was you're constantly in a mindset battle with yourself. I must have told myself multiple times during that race, go on, fake an injury. You know, you can quit now. Come on, that's it. Like you've twisted your ankle,
Yeah.
whatever. But you just put yourself, like you override your system and say, just keep running, whatever you do. And when I got down to the last mile after months of not drinking, I mean, in London, when you do the London Marathon, if you ever do it, I would highly recommend you either do the New York one, which I've heard a lot about, or the London one. London, everyone gets out from their houses and they support all the runners. So you're running and you just see all these strangers, people holding out pizzas and beers. And And when I got to the last mile, someone like had a pint waiting for me. I was like, fuck it. I haven't drank in months. I'm going to give up a few seconds down the pint and then finish the race. But
Dude,
it was really good.
that's such an interesting atmosphere, man. That's cool.
Amazing atmosphere. Highly recommended.
That's cool. That's cool. So, talking about that, what about the future excites you?
What about the future excites me is lack of resources and the black swan events that we don't know about. The uncertainty. Now, why do I say that? I don't want anything bad to happen. Obviously, it will, but I'm in love with human innovation in times such as the current times right now. Look at how many businesses boomed during the COVID crisis. I I feel like you get the best out of humans when you put them in uncomfortable positions. And I'm looking forward to seeing what leaps there are going to be in the future. One country I absolutely love is Iceland. For their terrain and what they have available to them. I mean, you're surrounded by volcanoes. You can't grow proper plants and everything, but yet they have all these greenhouses there that they're growing all the best plants. They're making the most out of the energy below the ground. They're killing it. It's constant
Yeah,
innovation.
no, Iceland does have a very interesting terrain, and their population is very low as well, right?
Yeah,
So they can do a lot with
300,000.
that land.
300,000, dude. It's
300,000,
insane.
yeah. What was it in the World Cup? They were like, yeah, 10% of Iceland's population is in the stadium right now. Like,
You're
shit.
gonna love this. So we're on a tour in Iceland, checking the south coast, and the driver told me, he's like, when we went, I think this was before the World Cup actually. Yeah, it was before the World Cup, and he's like, so we've qualified for the World Cup. The population is 300,000. I think half the population have applied to go. But he's like, so if we don't lose too bad, we'll be very happy. If we draw, we'll be ecstatic. If we win a game, the place is gonna be like crazy for a week. People are gonna leave their jobs and whatnot. I saw an article that 9 months after the World Cup, because they won a game and it was against England. I think it was against England. Yeah. 9 months after the World Cup or the Euros or something, they broke records in terms of childbirths. So
Oh,
they clearly had a good time. Again, this should be fact checked, but I saw the article pop up somewhere. So it was
their
hilarious.
population suddenly went from 300 to 600,000 just in a matter
Really
of
a good
a
time.
few years. Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. But I agree, man. I mean, it's in times of crisis where we start becoming really creative and coming up with different solutions and coming up with different ways to do things. Like, look at this, work from home. No one would have thought it's possible. At work, when I spoke to, let's say, my boss, the CEO, he was like, no, we can't do work from home. We never know how it's going to work. And then COVID hit and everyone is perfectly doing that. So it does push,
Exactly.
you know.
No, definitely. And this is a game changer for a lot of companies. So now this is going to be the norm. I personally feel, again, same with the company I'm from. So financial services quite strict, as is consulting, of course. Um, the finance team, generally, we would never work from home. Prior companies I have every now and then, but it was more, oh, you need to apply for it and ask permission, and anything after 2 days is weird. Whereas now it's a necessity, and I'm gonna fight for the fact after this to say, listen, I'm gonna work from home for weeks sometimes. I want to go visit countries. This is we're giving our lives to the corporate world, and anyone that watches this, I would highly say the same thing. It's like we're giving away our time, regardless of whatever pay we're on. These are hours that we're giving up, and when it gets to the weekend, man, we're exhausted. So lately, for sure, I've definitely been feeling exhausted. This is the first weekend that I haven't really. I told the missus, I was like, I don't want to do anything. I'm just so fried from work. I want to have a chill day, read my books, watch my courses, whatever. Um, they owe it to us. So if we work from home, we can work from other countries. We can appreciate all the places we want to go while getting the work done. So that's the least that we can get in return for giving away our time.
100%, I'm with you. And if the firm is results oriented, then they're going to understand that it's results that matter more than
Exactly.
anything. So
Absolutely.
I can provide you the results, give you the results that you need from anywhere.
Exactly. And I think efficiency went up with a lot of departments in our company actually since working from home.
Yeah,
So
I'm not surprised.
whatever objections they had, I mean, they've been dealt with.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, do you have any questions for me?
I did actually. This is very interesting to me because it gives me some more insight on yourself. So what was the moment that you thought you're like, okay, now I'm going to do this podcast. Now I'm going to get involved with this project. What was that spark? Or was it something that accumulated over a certain amount of time? But what is the reasoning behind it?
So, the reasoning, okay, so I'll start with the reasoning, then I'll get into how it started. The reasoning is because I think that we're so busy and stuck in our own lives all the time that we don't get a chance to actually have some meaningful discussions in order to know other people and have that, insightful or deeper conversations with them. And I love conversing. I really love expressing myself and hearing other people, talk about their ideas as well. Like I want to be curious and open-minded that way. So that's the reason why I started. I just enjoy conversations. Now,
I appreciate
when
that.
when did I start it? It was when I was listening to a Seth Godin podcast, or it was an interview. I'll send it to you later. And he was
Nice.
like, "Look, if you want to get something started, there's thinkers and then there's doers. And if you continue to think about what you want to do, but you never do it, you constantly keep planning it and wait for that perfect moment, you're never going to get started. And most people don't get started because they don't want to be seen as that guy who's constantly trying new things and maybe like not being so good at it initially. People want to look professional. People want to portray themselves or their product as professional. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't really initially start it. But then I'm like, I should get the ball rolling. And, it turned out really well. I'm speaking with people, having good conversations, and yeah, happy about that.
Power to you, dude. I appreciate, seriously, I've enjoyed this a lot. I think it's great. And the fact that what you thought initially, and then you've overcome that and said, no, no, listen, I'm going to get the ball rolling. I'm going to do this. And that's awesome. I think the beauty of life, and one of the things I really love about life is that variability of not knowing, am I going to succeed in this or am I going to fail? Is it going to work out or is it not? That's the formula, by the way, which you might know a lot of these apps use. It's variable results, which is why humans get attached to these phones. That's a formula of life, in my opinion. That's my personal kind of creed on why I try different things, is seeing, will I like this, will I not, will I be any good at it? Fuck everyone else's opinions. That's my thoughts on it. It's like, if you
Dude,
feel like doing something, do it.
I love the mindset. I appreciate it. Like I said, even in the beginning of the call, when you said, I want to be a rookie in different things. And I said, I really appreciate that. So, keep doing what you're doing as well. And I want to thank you for hopping on. It's really good to
My
have you.
pleasure, dude. My pleasure.
It's been a really nice talk. I appreciate it.
Likewise, bro. Thank you.
All right, bro. Take care.